For the final book, I chose the book Revolution by Russell Brand. Russell Brand is an English comedian, actor, host, and activist. He's an author of the New York Times bestseller Recovery Freedom from Our Addictions, and he has a weekly podcast called Under the Skin. He now has a wife and two daughters and 6 pets. Um, okay, with this book, I like to start with one of the phrases that says, if individuals start to walk on the path of spirit and self and feel a sense of the sacred connectedness, the social, economic, and political problems will also begin to get resolved. I think with this gives a great start of what the book wants to transmit. And for me, it is a sense of when we take care of each other from within, from our true self, not the individual who needs private education and material things or these things, these sort of things. I think it has a deeper meaning. So when we have a connection with that deeper sacred meaning of life, we can start to make one by one a difference. So from an individual goes to a social problem to economic and political problems. That's like when humans have a lower vibration, all sort of bad things happen to you. And I think as a whole we're having that type of situation. That's why we can move forward with the crisis we are facing now as social social beings. Revelation is about the idea that with access to the personal sacred, the social, as I have said before, can improve, and the global afterwards. You don't have hope if you don't have sacred within you. And in this book, sacred means a deeper, timeless word in where there are certain principles or values that we have as humans, starting from birth, starting from when people are younger and they kind of know what's not wrong and right, but what is good and what energy you put to doing bad things or good things. For example, if you are going to hit someone or if you're going to discriminate, like you already have a sense of or information in your consciousness that tells you what is fair and what is not. And I think as opposed to the real world where people live their own bubble reality from their mind's perspective, but all of us are longing for union. And why is that? Because that union is sacred and it exists in this world that we are all alluding to sacredness, and in our ordinary everyday today activities, that is what sacred is, in the ordinary, not in the big or powerful. I'll talk about power later on, but I think this presence of divinity that we have in words comes from the power that we do not understand, but yet we do feel it. And this longing for union is a reason because it is present and it is real. And the fact that it is separateness, that it is temporarily and it is just an illusion, there is a reason why it comes from every theological vision that in Christianism or in Buddhism, you know, the dots that connects, it's union. And I think that when you have that connection, or what the book transmitted to me is that when you have that connection to yourself, it you have a connection to everything, not only other humans, but the world as a whole. And for example, he mentions like breathing work that can help you improve or get better or cure a disease. And it's sort of like the point of meditation, that it is a discipline such as praying to reach an access of consciousness. And when we have not a practice that reassures or that helps that connection that it's already in our brain but kind of forgotten, more forgotten for some and more approachable to others, we have a different life. Like, even when people, he mentions that even when people are atheists, they can recognize their spirit within and the sacredness, even though they don't believe in the predominant spirit matter. And how does this sacredness comes to us? It comes on a daily basis, and it is about essentialize the inner life. We are in continual dialogue with sacredness, and we can tune in or we can ignore it. For example, death and birth. It happens all the time, and a part of us pretends that doesn't because we are so focused on another things that don't really matter. When you go inward to yourself, you can help your immediate community, and by doing it so, after you can do it globally. The idea of self-care through the prioritization of others and the back and forward of caring for yourself is actually caring for others. When you take care of yourself, you genuinely connect to a person, and a whole lot of people can change that in the world. For example, nationalization or capitalism is aparting us, is not becoming us one as a whole, is living this life of competitiveness and who has more and who has less, and that brings racial and political and economic crisis. And we are educated not to be acceptance. We have to accept the situation we are living, and that it is being imposed to all of us with technology, with the difference in power, and how just a few amount of people have the whole wealth or richness in the world. Is something we are going through in isolation, and we are being imposed isolation. So again, I think we need to go within. We have to pray or meditate or find that connection from within to break through the system. And in the book touches like there's crisis everywhere, in mental health, in the ecological situation, in the pandemic, and these are indications that we are, as a human, we are living out of alignment and out of certain principles and value that the self has. By self, I really mean or understood as that the meaning of self is soul. And in order to achieve this commodified world, it's because we are in commodified lives. But the real goal is to reach towards divinity, however the person defines it. I think that what I learned also from the book is that global revolution and creating a new way of thinking doesn't have to be all radical, because the changes exist and there is power, and power exists from the influence that can create hope. and hope and power can mold and shape the world. Challenging, and it is challenging and it is existing, but it is a personal awakening towards sacredness. By that he means that acknowledging what is ongoing, this sense of ongoing unity that is between us, can give good to the power, and it is a revelation to perspective we have as humans. There is no sacredness in our system. It is corrupt, it is egocentric, it is out of alignment, and it is not what we come to live. With this meaning of having no sacredness in our system, it separates us and makes oppositions rather than extracting the real experience we as humans come to have. And that can change the idea of how we operate the world, and that is what is happening right now. The despair of economic, political issues or conflict comes from the failure of human experience. Within our soul, there is power, and it alludes to unlock it. What is it? Unlimited power? I think the only limit we have really is our own mind. And what are the true limits we have, or the ones that we as babies or as humans are suggested by the system or the reality we are born into? Like, is that all an illusion and there is no greater good, rather than the true meaning we should be focusing or living in this human experience? I think we rely on our ability to require products, titles, diplomas, social media, etc. But beneath all of this, there is energy. There is energy you put into things, and this energy can be meant for something much more greater than the individualistic material world. And this energy, when we unleash it, it can change, as I said, the dynamic of the world, and it doesn't have to be in an explosive wave or a big way. It comes in ordinary things we do in an everyday life. I think that when you find this challenge and you become aware of that sacredness in your soul or in yourself, as the book refers to it, it is impossible to act prior of what you were before, of what you were programmed to believe. And you are sort of changed forever. I like this about the book, that only by engaging with personal sacredness or the connection with God, we can address the wound and the emptiness we all bear. There is a reason why almost half of the population have anxiety or depression or some sort of mental disease, because it is repetitive in our life and it is a correlation of yourself. We have to recognize that primarily the sources we have are inner rather than outer. Perhaps the ultimate sacred is the self, and we need to focus on the stimulation, not the stimulant. For example, when meditating or praying, you have to focus on the feeling you get, not what's causing it. There is wisdom even when things are shameful or you're afraid of them. You learn from that, you have growth in that, and that growth is inner. As he said in the book, from the encounter of the preacher and the singer, in life you don't have to focus on the construction of the plan. Do the inner work and make yourself ready for what's going after life. Free yourself from your condition or the programming. The plan will come. The plan has been taken care of. There is biological intelligence in your anatomy, in your consciousness, that when you harmonize that access, and you, either if you don't or do believe in God, it's part of human evolution. There is a power in presence, and it is wanting to be accessed. It is an aspect that should be about you, and it will be created if you get out of the way. By that I mean, when you get your ego out of the way, your true path is out there.